I have a question for you all. Would March still be mad without James Naismith inventing the game of basketball? James Naismith was an innovator and a teacher who invented the game of basketball. In the next few minutes, I'm going to tell you about his life and the invention of basketball. All the information I provide today was taken from a variety of sources. So let me start telling you about his early life. James was born November 6, 1891 in Almonte, Canada. His parents died at a young age, and according to The Man Who Invented Basketball by Rob Raines, he lived with his very strict religious grandmother and his uncle. As a kid, he liked to play the game Duck on a Rock. That's what he spent most of his time doing. It was a game him and his friends invented where the object of the game was to get smaller stones, and there's a person guarding the goal, like the big stone, and you have to knock the big stone over with the smaller stones. And in this game, he learned that a lobbing shot over the guy to knock over the stone was way more effective than a straight shot. And this idea proved to be very essential for the invention of basketball. So now I'm going to tell you about his schooling. He went to Almonte High School for 2 years. He left to pursue work, but he ended up coming back and graduated in 1883. After graduating from high school, he attended McGill University in Canada, where he received his bachelor's degree in physical education. After receiving his degree from McGill University, he attended the Presbyterian College of Theology. After graduating from Presbyterian College, he left to go to America and ended up in Springfield, Massachusetts, where he served as the PE director. And Springfield was where the game of basketball was invented. According to the Kansas Historical Society, Dr. Luther Gillick, the director of the YMCA in Springfield, he requested James to create a game, or he gave James 14 days to create a game that his athletes could play during the winter inside, remain safe, and stay healthy and just stay in shape for track and other sports like that. So he was guided by three main thoughts. So he analyzed the most important games of the time: rugby, lacrosse, football, soccer, and baseball. He noticed that the soccer ball was the safest ball out of all the balls used, and he also noticed that most physical contact came from running while holding the ball, so he decided that passing was the best option. He also wanted to make the goal unguardable and high above all the players' heads, and so this is where the duck in the rock lobbing shot proves to be essential, because he made the goals on two railings, and the two first goals were actually peach baskets. So now let's talk about the first game. The first game was played in December of 1891. It did not include dribbling. Most of the players were unsure about how they felt about it. They didn't really like it, but after a while it started to grow on them. It started to become more popular, and then eventually the game of basketball was introduced internationally by the YMCA movement. According to Rob Raines, the man who invented basketball, they wanted to call the game Naismith ball, but Naismith, the humble man he was, didn't want the game to be called that and just decided to go with basketball. But hey, Naismith ball wouldn't sound as bad as it sounds now if that's what it was called from the beginning. He married Maid Sherman in Springfield, and then they both moved to Colorado, where he became the PE director at the YMCA in Denver. While in Denver, he attended the University of Colorado Medical School, and he ended up graduating from there. After graduating from Colorado Medical School, the University of Kansas offered him a position as chaplain and PE director. They also gave him the task of setting up a basketball program. he went on to become the first coach at the University of Kansas. And I'm a KU fan, so I'm very thankful that this man went to KU, set up a very storied program, one of the most prestigious programs in the country. He coached his eventual successor, Fogg Allen, where KU plays basketball, Allen Fieldhouse, which is named after him. After KU, he retired, and then, like, basketball is so popular, it became an Olympic game. And in 1935, he was invited to watch the Olympics. And he was able to watch the United States win gold, Canada win silver, and Mexico win bronze. And he got to hand out the medals to each of those countries too, so that was pretty rewarding for him. He died in 1939 in Lawrence, Kansas, after suffering a major brain hemorrhage. James Naismith was a great man who invented the game of basketball. Basketball is played all over the world for recreational use, and it's also played competitively. The sport world could be completely different without James Naismith. Who knows what everybody would be playing right now. I hope this speech helped you appreciate this man and helped you appreciate basketball, and just you got to learn a little bit about the history of the game and James Naismith. I haven't ever met him, but he's definitely one of my role models.